with a fear of the Lord. Now, this is a term that I think almost in some ways we'd say it's not, the fear of the Lord is not religiously, politically correct. People, I'm not a fear of the Lord. But understand what fear means. Fear means this: it's respect, it's awe, it's wonder, it's reverence, it's holy amazement of God. Respect, awe, wonder, reverence, holy amazement. The song, That Perfect Wisdom of God, kind of reviewed for us some of the things that God's wisdom has brought about. The creation, the beauty of the heavens, the depths and the mysteries of the sea. I mean, those are things that God's got all under control. We have been alive now for, 4,000 plus years or whatever long the whole the earth is. We've had people, men, women, studying and learning, and we keep discovering there's an infinite space out there that we just keep on probing and discovering. And we go to the ocean depths, and we go deeper and deeper, and there's more, and we're like, wow, it's an amazing thing. This grand design, how'd they come about? By the wisdom of God. And to be amazed at what God has produced. And his beauty, his splendor, and the breadth and depth of his love. It's a mystery that's revealed to us in some fashion. But oh my, amazed. To stand amazed at just your mouth hanging open like, wow, God, you are really, really something. It is really hard, listen carefully, to really be amazed at the wonder of God when you're just absorbed in yourself. It is really hard to be amazed at the greatness of God when you're absorbed in yourself. Look around about us. And when things happen in our lives, they loom very, very large, don't they? Even little problems have become, the mole have become a mountain very easily. It's easy to fix on those things and debate, what about God? Behold the glory of God. The heavens declare the glory of God, full of awe and wonder. So this fear, this respect of God, if I respect God and honor God, then what he says is like, that's it. That's the last word. That's the final word. If I respect God, when God speaks, we simply must listen because he really knows what's going on. All things are known by God. He's omniscient. Wow. It'd be really wise, it seems, to tap into the one who really knows it all. So the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. When he says, walk in wisdom, have a lifestyle characterized by wisdom that produces those fruits of reasonableness and peace and so forth, it begins with an awesome respect and awe of holy God. J.B. Phillips wrote a book years ago entitled, Your God is Too Small. What he means is that our concept of God, sometimes our worship is kind of meager and elementary because we have a small view of who God is. But as our concept of God grows, and we see God as more as he truly is, worshiping him, honoring him, obeying him makes perfect sense. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So real, true, godly wisdom begins with fear of the Lord. But then the book of James also has another statement because this wisdom of God is available to us. Back in James chapter 1, James writes these words in chapter 1 and verse 5. He says, if any of you, James chapter 1, James 1 verse 5. But if any of you lacks wisdom, got that? Lack wisdom. I don't know. If any of you lack wisdom, then it says, ask God. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God who gives to all men generously and without reproach, and it will be given to him. The wisdom is readily available. Just ask. Now, you don't, that requires certain humility, doesn't it? You may laugh at this, but I went out to eat last night, and for the first time in my life, I had lobster. I've never ordered lobster before because I saw the thing show up on the plate, and I thought, how would you go about eating that thing? How would you work with that? You know, a hamburger is kind of easy. You just turn it down, okay? And so these legs came with this lobster leg in it, and I looked at it, and wow. And so I said to the waiter, you may laugh at this, but I've never had lobster before. How do I eat this? And he told me. Very simple. But you know, it's no big deal. But you know, it was kind of hard to ask. I mean, by now, at my age, I should have had lobster eating down cold, right? But it was like, it's no big deal. Just ask. But do you find that kind of hard sometimes to ask for something? I don't understand this. I don't get this. Would you please help me? I need your help. You know, I'll figure it out on my own. Yeah. There's a lot of jokes about men putting things together and not reading the instructions. And oftentimes there's a sequence to things. It's very simple, but the sequence is important. But, you know, you end up taking it back apart because you didn't really accept the wisdom about putting something simple together. There's a name for that. But what name would you put on that? Foolish, stupid, arrogant, proud. You choose it. None of them are good, right? But wisdom, asking for wisdom implies, you know, I really don't know. I lack the discernment that I need to make this decision. Lord, I'm asking you for your wisdom. I'm not asking for you to give a suggestion of what might be good. I'm asking for your wisdom because I respect you and offer you as you reveal it to me. That's what I'm going to do. That's asking in faith. Asking, wavering back, well, I'm going to consider your wisdom as an option, God. That's not the point of James 1. So this wisdom of God, walk in wisdom. This wisdom it begins with the fear of the Lord. Respect and awe, amazement of him. It's possible for us to have because we can ask, okay? We can ask. And then the third thing we'll notice here is that this real godly wisdom, it's fed with biblical knowledge. It is fed with biblical knowledge. You have a reference there in your notes to Psalm 119, verses 97 and following. And it talks about this connection between God's word feeds, it informs us, it helps us to know the ways of God, the truth of God, the precepts of God. It gives wisdom. It informs our wisdom, gives us data from which to work. Colossians 3:16 talks about the wisdom of Christ dwelling in us. And to understand this important part here that our wisdom gets informed by the knowledge of God. Now, listen carefully. It's on the screen here. One can be knowledgeable without being wise. One can be knowledgeable without being wise. Knowledge can exist without wisdom, but not the other way around. We need knowledge to walk in wisdom. We can have a lot of knowledge about something and not have a clue how to utilize that knowledge. You can be, for example, a winner of Bible trivia and know a lot about the book, to have maybe portions of the book memorized. You can know a lot about the Bible and not necessarily be wise, because wisdom is a step beyond that. It's God informing us through his Spirit how to aptly use the word that's been revealed to us. It is easy to confuse knowledge with wisdom. There are people, probably you know some people, who are incredibly intelligent. They have an IQ that's just off the charts. They have a memory that defies elephants who never forget. At least they say that. And they have tremendous wisdom, or knowledge rather. but are not necessarily wise because they don't know how to use what they have. Wisdom doesn't come from just our own being. It comes from God as a gift because we ask him, Lord, how do I use the knowledge you've given to me? You can't have real wisdom without knowledge, but knowledge alone is not the same as wisdom. Which also means, by the way, that there are people that you know, perhaps you feel that way. You know, I'm not the brightest light in town. I'm not very smart. Well, you can be marginal as far as IQ is concerned and be incredibly wise because it's not synonymous. There are people who have a limited mental faculties who have tapped into God's wisdom and are very discerning, very wise. So he says, walk in wisdom. Now notice what else he says in Colossians chapter 4. In that same passage, Colossians chapter 4 says, walk in wisdom towards outsiders. He's speaking here really about our witness towards the world, that the outsiders are those outside the faith, that we might, have a profitable witness towards them that Jeremiah prayed for this morning. But walk in wisdom towards the outsiders, making the most of the opportunity, or redeeming the time is what the King James has in it. Redeeming the time. How do you buy time? How do you redeem the time? And I think the idea of making the most of the opportunity is a very good idea of what's involved with that. And I put it this way here, is to, when we walk in wisdom, life really counts. Walk in wisdom, because that's where life really counts. It brings the pieces together. To walking in wisdom, to redeem the time, to make the most of the opportunity. Well, 2 walking in wisdom questions for each of us to answer. Number 1 is this: do I want to live wisely? Two choices, yes or no. Okay? It's a decision. God's wisdom, we're commanded to walk in wisdom. God gives us wisdom if we ask for it. It's an option for us. Question is, do I want to live wisely? The alternative is to live as a fool. And on the back of your sermon notes, there's a list of verses that talk about that. But that's a question we have to ask. Second question is, will I choose to pursue wisdom? See, it doesn't just happen. God does not make all of his followers, all who believe in Jesus, to be wise. You can be a very foolish Christian or a very wise Christian. But there's some options and choices that we have to make. Do I want to be wise? Do I want to nurture a fear of the Lord? Will I humble myself and ask God for wisdom from above? Will I glean from God's word the knowledge that's necessary to feed that wisdom? Do I want to live wisely? Will I choose to pursue wisdom? That's our choice. We're going to close where we begin with that same song about wisdom. But a time when each of us need to respond to this question, these 2 questions. So again, let the questions be resonating in your mind. Listen to the song and make your decision about whether or not you want to live wisely and whether or not you want to pursue it.